There are so many political issues in Rhode Island right now, from the Washington Bridge to healthcare, education, housing, energy, economic development. The list goes on, and they're sure to shape a lot of what we see in the upcoming elections this year. But right now, the biggest political story in the state is happening in Providence, and it has to do with snow removal.
Bartholomew Town.
Welcome into Bartholomew Town. I'm Bill Bartholomew. As cleanup continues following the blizzard of 2026, a record-breaking storm. You can hear all about the details of what made this record-breaking in our previous podcast episode with meteorologist R.J. Heim, so we won't go too far on that. Obviously, good news that power was essentially restored really now over the last couple of days for those customers that lost it. But what is clear here on the ground, in Providence anyway, and I've heard plenty from folks all around the state that in different ways this is true, is that there is a long way to go when it comes to cleanup and actually getting the city back online. Providence schools and many other districts closed through the week, and that's out of essence. Right now, a good chunk of the city of Providence, and folks, we're not talking about major roads, but we're definitely talking about side roads. We're talking about sidewalks, still covered in mountains of snow as of this morning. And this after a scenario in which in the previous storm, the city of Providence struggled mightily with snow removal. And for Mayor Brett Smiley, that was one of the core issues when he was running for mayor back in 2022. I remember I was there moderating the Democrat primary debate for mayor. And Smiley's kind of thing was, we're going to get back to basics when it comes to city services, including snow plowing, including trash removal. So in the last storm that we had earlier this year, when things started to go sideways for the mayor, first of all, he was out of town and then he came back to town. And by then, it was clear that the snow on the ground, the snow that had already fallen, that had in some cases frozen, was going to take an extremely outsized long time to clear. And that was a right political opportunity for David Morales, a state representative from Providence who's challenging Mayor Smiley in a primary from the left. Morales swooped in, put out his own snow plan that included hiring new personnel, getting more and more equipment, things like this. Also, real-time maps that could let people know, hey, here's when your street is expected to be plowed or whatever, right? So Morales put that out to a lot of fanfare. And for a moment in this race that previously, in the Providence mayor's race, the Democrat primary, which ultimately will determine who the next mayor will be, and it seemed like a scenario where David Morales, trying to take a bit of a Mamdani approach, definitely emerging from the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, definitely trying to capture, obviously, a left vote, but also new voters or voters who are dismayed in one way, shape, or form with the status quo, be it Smiley or otherwise. That's the Morales pathway, right? And with this snow removal plan, pushing back on what just happened in real time in the city, from an infrastructure policy standpoint or execution standpoint on behalf of the Smiley administration, Morales was able to step out of that lane of, hey, I'm a socialist, I'm a progressive, I'm Mamdani, I'm whatever, and just get into a conversation about, hey, from the standpoint of everyday people, I have an idea that is an improvement on yours. And that was the fundamental tenet of the David Morales snow plan release, right? Then last week, I sat down with Mayor Smiley at City Hall, and he told me, look, all that's well and good. The problem is the city has new snow plows on order, okay? We have new equipment. It's just it hasn't been manufactured yet. It takes a very long time. And we've seen this in other areas, right, folks? Think about fire trucks, apparatus. I mean, it takes a while to manufacture these pieces of equipment. So Smiley's argument was, again, last week on Bartholomew Town with me, look, there's nothing we can do. We got nailed by a major storm, more snow than usual. We don't have our new equipment yet. We did the best we could. We're trying to track down more third-party contractors because in large part, that's a huge component of how our snow removal operation works. Okay, that sets the table pre-blizzard of 2026. Then we get the blizzard this week. Nobody in their right mind could possibly expect down to pavement, curb to curb in any municipality impacted by the city that just happened. I don't care if you're talking about the most well-heeled tax base in the entire country in terms of equipment and personnel acquisition. what we saw in terms of the blizzard, it's just an unbelievably ridiculous thing to expect that that's going to be cleared in a day or two or anything like that. But where we are right now is a critical moment in the Providence mayoral race. And because a lot of the other races on a statewide basis, new polling data in the governor's race, we'll get to that in just a second. But by and large, it's been pretty boring. I've been saying that over and over again. It's not because I'm necessarily trying to stir things up. It's because it's the reality. How many people are actually talking about the governor's race or actually talking about, I don't know, the attorney general's race, which is extremely fascinating and is going to be a very special political race this year. But it doesn't have the star power. It doesn't have the energy of a major race. It just doesn't feel like 2022, 2018, 2014, onwards and onwards we go back in time to an energetic thing. Governor's race doesn't have that. Governor's race feels very order of business like. We just got to do this. We got to figure it out. Here's your people. You got, not your cars. You got McKee. You got folks. We're just going to run through this and get this done, and we'll figure out the new governors. That's how that feels. It's like you got to go rake leaves. It's just got to be done. It does not have any magic. Providence mayor race, while at first glance, when this first started, it did seem like, okay, well, the Smiley coalition and the Smiley money and in many ways, just what Smiley represents, that is going to win in Providence. The numbers just aren't there for a Mamdani-like coalition for Morales to build. There's certainly not an appetite, generally speaking, for a socialist view, if you will, by and large in the city of Providence. Yes, a lot of people are on board with that concept. Maybe you are, and there's good reason to continue to make that argument. But the city of Providence is not ready to flip on the whole further to the left in terms of the broader constituencies, right? So it seemed like, okay, I don't know if this is really, is this one of those races that's going to get anything going, or is it more of just like it's going to push Smiley on some stuff. It's going to make for a little bit more of an interesting primary. But at the end of the day, this isn't the thing that we're looking for in terms of covering a race that could be down to the wire. Now I'm not thinking that at all. Why? Because all of a sudden, snow plowing in the city of Providence is the most interesting, and I'm not going to say important, I'm not going to say relevant, I'm not going to say lasting, but it is definitely the most, in my mind, in this moment here on February 26, 2026, it is the biggest political issue in Rhode Island. You never want to get beat on weather. You never want to get beat on anything like weather in a political moment, right? Especially for Smiley, given that that was a fundamental tenet of his platform when he ran in 2022. Hey, I'm the practical guy. Remember he beat in that Democrat primary Gonzalo Cuervo and Nir Villafortune. And his thing was, hey, look, we know the business. I ran the Department of Administration. It's kind of boring, but we want to get trash picked up. We want to get the snow plows on the street. Bingo. And then to have that compound into a micro-political disaster after the last storm, it gives Morales a position that, frankly, he kind of just backed into. It's not like they sat down in campaign headquarters back over the summer. Are you thinking about running? You thinking about not running? I don't know. I think I'm going to run, but we just got to wait for the first big snowstorm so we can nail Smiley when the snow plowing is not to people's satisfaction. No, this was just a circumstantial evolution of a situation that led to an opportunity. It led to an opening for Morales. And he took it. And you could see it and hear it in the mayor over the course of the blizzard. Social media posts that are, I don't want to say frantic, but frequent, no doubt. And it gave me the feeling of as I was watching some of the communication, which they did a good job. The city of Providence did a good job communicating, let's be clear. But it gave me the feeling at some of the videos that they were posting of the mayor, I was like, almost like, okay, it's a little much. We know it. We know that this is a thing, no doubt, that has rattled your cage, correctly so, and it's nerve-wracking. But also but the tone and sort of frequency of the videos and a disciplinarian approach around parking bans, maybe it has to be done. But whatever the case was, it didn't feel comfortable to watch. And that's because it wasn't. It's an uncomfortable situation. The mayor hoping, no doubt, and his people hoping, no doubt, the whole city hoping, no doubt, that the storm, the blizzard, can be cleaned up with a reasonable amount of time. Now, look, they've got an advantage. They've got crews from out of state. They got the National Guard. You've also got community people who are just doing their thing. That's the case in my neighborhood. I was completely snowed in. Contractor never showed up at our studios. In our neighborhood, a lot of people working together to dig themselves out. That gave me a chance to walk around Elmwood the day after the blizzard, by the way, walking down the middle of Elmwood Avenue, Reservoir Avenue, no sidewalks, not a chance in the world, dodging basically dodging traffic, doing the best I could. A little bit foolish to be out there, but it gave me a chance to talk to some people, and people are angry. And here's why they're angry. They're angry at the city. They're angry at the mayor. And it's not because the blizzard of 2026 and the result we've seen even so far with snow removal on side streets, sidewalks, whatever. It's not that explicitly rang people's bell in a vacuum. It's that what happened in the previous storm, coupled with Morales and a general media fervor, the Channel 12 News over and over, everybody over WPRO, we're there doing the story. I think fairly. I'm not saying that people are ragging for no reason. I think people are assessing the story from a journalistic standpoint. It's a real thing happening in this community, but it was beaten over people's heads that Smiley did a bad job in the last storm, and it's a major problem. That was beaten over. Most people wouldn't even be paying attention necessarily, but because Morales on a political end, that got the media going, the news media, that got news media locally going, and that created a cycle and a psychology, right? And that is why snow removal in Providence is the biggest political issue in Rhode Island right now, because it has captured the psychology of the community. David Morales' plan, when you go through it with a fine-tooth comb, I've spoken with DPW directors and other municipalities and other states and other people who work in industries that are related to or directly aligned with snow removal and heavy equipment and departments of public works. And there are a lot of gaps in the Morales plan as well. Not only in the sense of the equipment that Smiley says the city has had previously ordered, hasn't been manufactured yet. You can't manufacture out of thin air. You can hire all the seasonal workers you'd like, but they're not going to be able to operate equipment, right? There are flaws, if you will, in terms of the tax base and understanding, hey, do we want Yukon-style snow plows in the city of Providence? That's a question that's actually a major political question, because it asks, how much does this community want to invest in the infrastructure required to live a smooth life? You think about all the money we have and spend on it, certainly maybe not on a city basis. When you take a look at the schools, take a look at pensions, take a look at the actual reality of economics in the city of Providence. The city of Providence is not in a position to go out and buy $1 zillion worth of snow removal equipment. And frankly, even at this point, probably to hire with any sort of reasonable fair wage, many seasonal workers, because it's a tax base issue. This isn't Brookline. This isn't Greenwich, Connecticut. You think you're going to get everybody on board to throw down on millions and millions and millions of dollars of new equipment? Now, in a different type of society, we definitely would have that, right? In a different kind of society, we say, well, yeah, our first priority is to take care of the most vulnerable. Then we take care of our infrastructure. What do we need? Okay, we need a couple of these snow plows, a couple of this. Can we have a volunteer brigade, or, kind of like in New York, you sign up for the snow shoveling thing. Maybe we got something like that going on here. But we don't think that way. That's not how our society is built. So common sense about snow removal and the psychology that was introduced about why this story is so big, and it is big. It impacts people's lives. Schools are closed. You can't drive anywhere. You got all kinds of chaos. Hospital areas, better this time, still some reports of trouble there. All the while on a state level, you see people talking about and praising, wow, they did an amazing job down on 95. The highways are clear. Down in South County, Warden's Pond Road, back in my homeland, that road was impassable for any South Kingstown municipal snowplow. National Guard comes in and cleans it up. So you're seeing action taking place, and yes, there's action happening in Providence. But even without a verifiable, solid, no doubt about it, slam dunk level of facts, Morales has been able to win on this issue just by psychology alone. Because you put it out there to anybody who's stranded or digging out or whatever in the city of Providence. You say, hey, we got this other idea. We want to buy more plows, hire more workers, real-time maps. Everyone's going to go, of course. I mean, this is not the Washington Bridge. This is not economic development in terms of what the hell are we going to put downtown or in the 195 land or how are we going to get things going here. This is not education. It's not healthcare. It's none of that. But it is true that as easy as it is to kind of make fun of some of these issues, in a way, you look back on, oh, yeah, snowplow, whatever, as compared with climate or gun control, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't jump out as like the big issue that, is there a snowplow lobby out there or anything like that? I mean, come on. But in a year where right now things are boring, things are, again, I say it over and over again, the governor's race is, here comes Helena Folk. She's going to tell you Dan McKee's incompetent because the Washington Bridge almost fell down. And he's a nice guy, but he's a moron. And then he's going to come out and say Helena Folks is, corporate stooge, and she's responsible for the opioid crisis, at least in large part because she worked at CVS. Okay. I mean, hit the snooze button, please. And in Providence, we got actual stuff playing out. It's only February, and we've got an actual set of issues playing out. It's all psychology. That's what makes this the biggest political issue. It's not the impact it has on a statewide basis. It's none of that. It's both guys, Smiley and Morales, neither of them are 100% in terms of how to deal with this thing, and that's because it's nature. It's Mother Nature. We don't really know. But the question that it does leave us is, number one, as a society, as a city, what do we want to spend on our infrastructure on a practical basis, right? How much do you want to spend? What kind of taxes do you want to pay? And yeah, tax the rich, tax the wealthy. We don't have that kind of tax base in Rhode Island, which is why the millionaire's tax is basically it's not going to be de minimis, but it's not going to be California's millionaire tax or billionaire tax, rather. It's just not, we don't have it here. So how do we buy this stuff if we're going to have new snowplows? And more than anything, what's going on in terms of the organization? What's up with DPW in Providence? I asked that, frankly, I have no idea. I know Patricia Coyne-Fag is the head over there, head of that department. She came from the ACI before this. I don't know if she's run any DPWs or DPW, Departments of Public Works, before. But is there something weird going on in maybe you know. Send me an email, bill@ripodcast.com. Biggest political story in the state, snow plowing in Providence. And let's get through the winter, folks. Geez, enough already. I mean, I'm losing my mind. How about you? Seriously, I'm just cooped up. I'm just feeling it. And for good reason. We got to start thinking a little differently, in terms of feeling like we're wearing shorts and T-shirts. That's what I mean, thinking differently. Jeez. But this will be remembered. The snow plowing story, it'll be remembered. I guarantee. When we do the debates for the primary in August, this will come up. It'll fade, but will come up. It will not be the biggest political issue for long, but right now it is. And we are brought to you by the University of Online. Are you looking to advance your career or explore a new field? The University of Rhode Island now offers a comprehensive portfolio of fully online programs designed to bring world-class education to you anytime, anywhere. Choose from a wide range of flexible, asynchronous programs in business and leadership, data, tech, and STEM, and healthcare, and pharmacy, marine, and environmental sciences, and much more. They got everything down at Rhody Online. They've got expert faculty, innovative courses, and you're going to gain the skills and knowledge that you need to thrive in today's competitive world. You ready to take that next step? URI.edu/online. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Quick note, tomorrow night on the 27th of February at Myrtle in East Providence. And they got a parking ban over there. They're trying to clear all the snow for all the parking. I think it will be good. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I will be performing my only full band, full evening show of the year. I've got all new songs as we head into the studio in about a month and a half to make a new record. And if you want to get a preview of that, again, that's at Myrtle in East Providence. Myself with my band and great support act coming from Boston. Good Judgment is the name of the band. They are fantastic. They're my friend Dina, who I was in last year's cohort at the Brown University Arts Institute songwriting thing. So great to have Dina in town. Hope to see you there, Myrtle, tomorrow night. Okay, new polling numbers in the Democrat primary. This is the UNH poll. Remember that one? This one is the University of New Hampshire poll, and Dan McKee do not get along. This poll consistently shows McKee way behind. You compare that to the Morning Consult poll that puts McKee much closer to like a 50-ish% approval rating, right? Well, new poll from UNH, again, they hate McKee in terms of, I don't know if they hate McKee, that's a stupid thing to say, but I mean, they definitely do not, their polling system or polling base does not reflect a constituency very pleased with McKee. In a hypothetical Democratic primary that would take place, it's not hypothetical because it's the same people, but if it took place today, hypothetical in terms of timeline, Helena Bonanno Folks would receive 34% of the vote. Repeating that for clarity, Helena Bonanno Folks would receive 34% of the vote. McKee would get 18%. And then that restaurant owner, Greg Stevens, gets 4%. Forget about him. I mean, at 4%, that'll turn into 0.07 before long. 40% remain undecided. That's always the big number. Here's the other big number. 703 Rhode Island residents, including 364 likely Democratic primary voters, surveyed about this one. 3.7% margin of error. Remember, McKee beat folks by around 3-ish percentage points in 2022. And she's always saying, well, you know, we won on election day. We lost on mail-in ballots. I don't know why she says that. I get it because it's like, oh, we got turnout. We crested a little too early, but it still shows that we got turnout on election day. I don't know. Anytime they say that about we lost because of mail ballots, I just think it poisons we're so over that because of the garbage from the right, particularly, the Trump skepticism of election stuff. So I would advise the Folks campaign to stop saying that. It just doesn't resonate with, and to me, it does not sound smart or accurate. You lost the election. The mechanics by which those votes were cast doesn't matter. And now you're trying to win the election. According to this poll, you're in prime position. Look, we've talked about this before. The UNH poll, the academic poll, 750 people surveyed. That's not nothing. It's not a joke or anything like that. It's definitely serious, and it's definitely something to look at and to draw some conclusions from. But also, I don't know. Does this really impact how I think about this election in any way? Not really. I mean, no, actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, because we know right now, even with distance from the bridge and Alvides retiring and, things are going to start to become a little bit more interesting. Let's hope that snow plows in Providence aren't the major political discussion when we get to, May of this year, please. But folks, remember, the primaries in other states are happening now. I mean, take a look at Texas. You want to take a look at an incredibly important race to watch? Look at the Republican primary in Texas. It's going to be an unbelievable test of Trumpism versus, let me actually rephrase that, an unbelievable test of extreme conservatism versus significant conservatism. And that is a very important thing to look at. Why do I mention it? Because a lot of primaries are happening now. Here, we've got the spring sprint, then kind of the summer lull where everybody's going to be out at events making a case for themselves or whatever. But then it's boom, right after Labor Day. It's so inconveniently timed that it's a tough calendar. So right now, the fact that neither candidate, particularly folks who has the money, isn't spending anything on television or radio or podcast or anything like that, and trying to get the word out, I was not of mind that was something she should have done in January or even early February. It does feel like you see that poll. If I'm Helena Folks, I see that number. And you're thinking, I need to pad that for two reasons. One, I don't believe it because Morning Consult, internal polls, flavor, anecdotal flavor. I know that Dan McKee is up against it. I know the Washington Bridge has backed this guy into an impossible position, it seems. I know he hasn't done well for himself in terms of trying to explain the bridge or comfort people about it or anything like that. I get it. But also, you're going to have to remember, you're going to have union and other outside support behind McKee in real time that makes up a lot of ground. You got 700 and something people surveyed in this UNH poll. How many of them are members of significant unions? I put union votes. Remember, I always talk about this later in, as we approach election times, the summer barbecues around election times, right? I was just mentioning this on television a couple of weeks ago, though. You get a union supporter. That person also becomes an ambassador. They go out into the community. They've been either instructed or encouraged to vote for Dan McKee. And when they're at the 4th of July barbecue or the beach or something like that, and someone says, hey, you know anything about this, the governor's race? Do you know who that guy, Dan Magoo or something like that? Donnie Magoo? No, Dan McKee, yeah, he's great. You definitely should vote for him because he's the one who's going to X, Y, and Z. Yeah, the other one, Helena Folks, she's corporate. You don't want to touch her. That's another element of the union. It's the word of mouth, on the ground, grassroots ambassador level. That has not yet been deployed. So do I think Dan McKee's in trouble? Absolutely. He's been in trouble this entire election cycle. All right. But is it as grim as that UNH poll shows? No, it's not. It just isn't. It's a flaw in political polling because I'm telling you, as just somebody who feels it from community, from the political machine, from being on the radio every afternoon, from you guys who write in here, whatever. Come on, man. Dan McKee is not that far behind Helena Folks in reality. And he may be in front if you start thinking about it from a clear-headed standpoint. Union membership, other community ambassadors. McKee has a large constituency in South Providence. He's got large constituencies in Newport. He's got a large constituency in Westerly. Why does that matter? It does. Purplish towns. Westerly a little bit purplish. Certainly when you start to push up from Westerly into Hopkinton, you start to get into that swath over there. McKee's got connections there. Caswell Cook, Musquamacut Beach Association. That's a big McKee ally. Cook is a Republican. So there's all these little hidden pockets. I'm giving you 3 random examples of a zillion Dan McKee. Want to talk dragon boats in Pawtucket? I mean, we can go on and on. He's got a million different ways to grab unaccounted for voters. They're not showing up in polls from the University of New Hampshire. They're not calling the Tara Granahan show or anything on WPRO. They're not writing into, they're not writing editorials in the Providence Journal, the Boston Globe, none of that. These are just regular people who have been touched in one way, shape, or form by the McKee brand. And they're unaccounted for, and they will make up a lot of that gap. But McKee's still got a lot of work to do, and I continue to be amazed that they have not tried to reinvent the entire McKee machine by telling his story. Free advice to the McKee campaign. Don't send me to www.http://www.ri2030.gov/Rhode Island/this/blizzard update. None of that. This needs to be a contemporary program that drives this political operation, contemporary, modern, 2026 program that drives this political operation in a way that you try to tell the story of a guy who rose from mayor to lieutenant governor to governor. Period. And they got to go after Trump hard. Are you going to be Pritzker? Are you going to be, Janet Mills? Probably not. But you got to establish that as well. Otherwise, you're going to get beat there by folks. So that's sort of the state of things right now as we head into a weekend after the blizzard. Providence mayor, it's about snowplows. The governor's race, it's about, we'll see. We'll see. And, of course, the day-to-day operations this afternoon, Speaker Shekarchi will be announcing some major housing legislation, supposedly. So we'll keep an eye on that. We have so much to do, folks. We have so many stories that we're going to get to here on Bartholomew Town over the next couple of weeks. We're brought to you in part by Newport Film, newportfilm.com for the latest screening details, and by Navigant Credit Union, navigantcu.org will get you to the mighty people of Navigant. I'm Bill Bartholomew. Great to spend some time together. Stay safe out there and enjoy the weekend. Hope to see some of you at Myrtle on Friday night in East Providence, 8 o'clock showtime. It's totally free, by the way. These midwinter hangs are always really good. They're always fun to see everybody, especially coming out of a blizzard. So hope to see you there.